recording now.
Woo.
Most excellent. Woohoo, we did it. Cool. Do we have an episode description ready to go, or no?
I put a thing in there. I didn't think very hard about it, but there is
That's
something
fair.
on the document.
That's on brand for this episode and for this podcast. It's gonna be a chill vibe kind of episode. With that, I'm gonna get into the episode description. Oh man, those current events really are happening, huh? In an attempt to regain some semblance of sanity, the nerds are taking after Griffin and Rachel McElroy's podcast, Wonderful, and talking about the things in life that bring them joy. Care is blessed and de-stressed, Eli is vibing their way through the world, and both are total nerds.
Ooh.
3, 2,
2, 1... Hey, nerd! God.
God.
God, I don't. Truly,
Dear
I don't
God
know.
almighty. Cool. My name is Care, my pronouns are she, her, hers.
My name is Eli, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
And this is Hey Nerd. It's our podcast where we purport to talk about nerdy things. Lately, It's just kind of been whatever. It's fine. This is a fun project for us that we're just doing to talk to each other. There's no brand.
It's that we are nerds, and therefore any discussion we have is nerdy. But we've decided that this podcast should just be us talking about what we want to talk about, and we're bad nerds, as we've established in the last episode.
Not true nerds. But we do call each other nerds quite a bit, which I think was also like the main point of that title. Was that is how we're most likely to greet each other in a way that doesn't use curse words. So for this week's Brendan question, we didn't have it up on the planning document that we have. Again, it's a chill vibes kind of recording sesh. It's 8 p.m. on a Thursday. We technically don't have school tomorrow, so we're just kind of vibing. And the Brendan question for this week is, if your mood were a type of weather today, what would it be and why?
If my mood were a type of weather today, that's a good question. I'm impressed. I don't know, I feel like I've been kind of just descending into sickness. Wow, my brain just turned off. I've been descending into sickness all week, so I feel like I would describe my mood and general energy level as overcast, where, like, it's not raining yet, but, like, it's coming, and you know it's coming, and it's like, but I should probably go inside and, like, make sure that I have, I don't know what you do before it rains. I don't prepare well for things, as evidenced by tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's overcast. The answer is overcast. I tried to do something poetic, but it is very late, and I wrote poetry earlier, so all that's gone. I don't have any more talent today.
You used up all of your poetry brain cells. Kind of the inverse of that, but very similar, is when, like, it's done raining and the sun is out, but it's, like, not quite decided that it wants to be sunny yet, so it just feels like all the puddles are going sour. I do not have, like, a concrete explanation for that. It's just kind of the general... I mean, as we said in the episode description, the world's kind of a hot mess right now, and I feel like that kind of just, doom and vague melancholy just kind of permeating, is where I'm at. This is meant to be the positive episode, so we're doing great thus far. Good vibes only.
Tonight is tonight, and I don't know if... I'm sure someone can math to do the recording date of what else is going on in the world right now, but, like, wow, it really do be like that, huh?
Yeah, I will say that we decided that we were gonna do this topic, and by we, I mean I, and then Eli agreed. I think the night of the presidential debate?
Yeah, the night of the first presidential debate.
Yeah, we were both like, okay, never mind. We were gonna do something else. We were gonna do something a little more familiar. Fuck that entirely. We're just gonna do good vibes only.
We're just stealing someone else's premise. And we're making it our own. But yeah, no, Caroline and I texted through the first 40 minutes of that debate until it straight up gave me a migraine, and I was like, I should not be watching this anymore. So I didn't.
Yeah, self-care. Which is great. I watched a little bit more, but I dipped, I think, when someone mentioned radical left supporters. And I was like, never mind. Couldn't be me.
Time to not be here anymore.
Yeah. So with that being said, aside from that, the presidential debate was a while ago, so I don't think it counts as the weekly anecdote. what are our weekly anecdotes in the 3 weeks since we recorded the first?
Our triple weekly anecdotes. Fortnightly That's what a fortnight is 2 weeks, so like fortnight and a half. Fortnite is also a video game.
Fortnite. Night.
Fortnite.
4.5 night.
Yeah. I mean, kind of getting into the topic of this episode, but just as an anecdote, I'm in Science Bowl. It's proof that I am, in fact, an actual nerd who does nerd things.
Yeah, can you explain what that is for the listeners at home who may not know?
So Science Bowl is like the Department of the purpose of Science Bowl is the Department of Energy's like, dang, how do we get students to want to learn about science? And they were like, we're going to play on the natural competitiveness of nerdy teenagers. So Science Bowl is just like if you take science, but make it a team sport. And that's the best way I can explain it. It's essentially like a fact recall. It's like a quiz show thing. Look up like Quiz Bowl and then just put like a science lens over it. That's what Science Bowl is. But I'm on the Science Bowl team. I didn't try out. I just signed up, and they were like, "Yeah, sure. Welcome to the gang, I guess."
They didn't make you do science drills on the science field before joining.
Yeah, the science coach, also known as Mr. D, was like, I got hazed. It was a whole thing.
Instead of Gatorade getting poured on you if you win, you get like Red Bull or something.
You get like Monster Energy drinks from like the coders up at 2 a.m. But all of this to say that we have to do like presentations to like teach people science so that people know science for the competition. It's the nerdiest thing to do. It's like, hey, after school on Tuesdays, instead of being done with school or even just doing your homework, you're gonna go do more specific school because you're a fucking nerd. But I had to do my presentation, and so I made everyone learn about logic gates, because I like logic gates, and no one else cared about logic gates, but I was like, I'm in charge. Everett gave me the power, and he just has to deal with it, and all of you have to deal with it, because logic gates, baby.
But Eli, what's a logic gate?
Warning for nerd shit. Most of the things that makes me happy is, like, academic nerd shit, so rip everyone. But
if anyone has a problem with you being happy on this podcast, I will fucking find them and smack them.
Good. And the same to you, but in reverse. I will find them and smack them. Me.
Nice.
If you bully one of us, the other's gonna come to your house.
Listen, only we are allowed to bully each other on this good show.
What is a logic gate? So, essentially, it's like, computer science, 2 basic inputs, 1 and 0, true and false, right? That's like a computer science thing.
One of them always lies, one of them always tells the truth.
No, that's a logic circle thing, not a logic gate. But yeah, it's essentially like, logic gates are something that take inputs, run a function on them, give an output. It's like, you can take them to be like, is this true? Are both of these things true? Is only one of these things true? It's like a way of evaluating data, and logic gates are kind of like the foundational, mathematical logic system of just like, does this input make this output? That's kind of it. That's what logic gates are. If you want an actual answer, it's just search up logic gates on Google, and I'm sure some Caltech grad student somewhere will have made a video about it, and you can watch that and feel enlightened.
And apparently you've made a PowerPoint, so...
I have made a PowerPoint. Yeah, that's not publicly available. I could make it publicly available. It's not interesting or understandable.
Fair enough. That's cool, though. So you just, like, got to teach a class on, like, hyperfixation for you.
Yes, I love
that for you.
I got to spend 15 minutes on something that has been fascinating to me since 8th grade, and it's never gonna be relevant to anyone else again.
Aww.
But I enjoy it, and that's what's important.
Listen, Logic Gates, you have a fan in Eli.
Yeah.
If you feel like no one else appreciates you, at least someone does, and they're on this podcast.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Logic Gates out there.
Shout out to all the Logic Gates listening to this podcast. I see you, and I validate you. What about your weekly
Logic
edit?
Gates valid output, yes. I don't know if I got that right, but, you know.
Based off my explanation, absolutely. Based off how that actually works, no. But also, why would you know that?
Fair enough. Okay, cool. My weekly anecdote. Suddenly events have ceased to happen to me, and ceased to have happened to me. Oh yeah, I had to do old person makeup this week because going to an art school just never stops. Just never...
It never leaves you alone.
It just never... I never do quite quit being reminded of the fact that I go to a really weird school. A lovely school that I appreciate and I'm grateful for, but also... Fucking only for this would they be like, hey, we know virtual learning's a thing, but we're gonna want you to do old person makeup and do a video for this. And I was like, I'm down, but also what the fuck? Yeah, part of that was figuring out how to do little old lady makeup, which was kind of fun. Probably should have practiced, at a time immediately before I wanted to film. But you know, it's fine. I was coasting by on some hubris from the fact that, the makeup artist who had, like, kind of popped by to give advice on doing old person makeup was like, oh yeah, you have, like, you could totally do a gauntlet because you have really strong cheekbones. And I was like, that is the first time in my life that anyone's ever said that to me, and I'm gonna ride that high for the rest of my life. Thank you so much. A professional has complimented me on my facial structure. And then I got there and I was like, oh, the cheekbones can't carry me though.
Oh, they can get me part of the way there, but not anywhere close.
No, not nearly as far as I wanted. I will say that I think I nailed the hair and the wardrobe. I think those two parts I did do good on. So yeah, that was part of what I did with my week, and I've also just in general I've gotten more confident at doing voices for stuff thanks to D&D and having to do voices.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, well, I don't normally do, like, character voices for extended periods of time. Like, I'll do them sometimes when I'm telling anecdotes and stuff, or, like, doing them for comedic effect, but actually have to, like, do a character for that long for an extended period of time was like, oh, this is vulnerable and I don't like it. And then I was like, well, fuck it. What is D&D if not being vulnerable in front of people and just hoping that everyone's okay with it? So then I was, and then it paid off. So, you know.
Yes.
Submit yourself to the mortifying ordeal of being known, and people might end up loving your elves from Texas.
They're very good elves from Texas. I want to say, like, we spent a lot of time in the first episode talking about my skills as a DM, and I'm putting it out there on the internet where Kara can't be mad at me because it's on the internet.
Oh,
well,
no.
you can be mad at me, but it's gonna be on the internet.
Okay.
Kara is just as good of a DM as I am. She's very wonderful. I love being in her campaign. It's on the record. The internet has it forever. You can't escape it. But yeah, if we could go back and redo that first episode, you'd hear a lot about how much I love Care and the way that she DMs.
Yay! I mean, we may end up redoing that episode anyway, just for a lot of reasons. I'm running out of things to talk about that are not Dungeons and Dragons at this point. There's not much going on in my life right now.
That's true. That's the
I'm
problem
like, this
with
is my social interaction.
Yeah, we can't go out and experience things.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's about it for the weekly anecdotes. So, Eli, do you have any kind of a graceful segue, or are we really just gonna, like, hard left turn?
Well, I was gonna say, I did have one more weekly anecdote that related to this podcast, but that's funny, is that this week I started looking at colleges, and I was like, I should probably figure out which colleges have single dorms, because, like, I don't want to burden a roommate with this shit. I don't want to be like, hey, by the way, it's a Thursday, and I know you want to sleep, but I gotta record, man.
I'm just, hopefully I'll have the 10-year-old beige Prius that I'm currently learning to. I've technically learned to drive, according to the state of Texas.
The state of Texas is the most trustworthy state.
Yeah, the most trustworthy state for education. But regardless, I've been driving around in the 10-year-old beige Prius that my dad got for his midlife crisis. That kind of tells you all you need to know about my dad. He traded in a nicer car for it, too. which is just even more wild. But yeah, I'm just gonna record podcast episodes from my car, and we'll see how that goes. We'll hope that, I have a car eventually.
Very good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was like, you Chicago, you look like you have a lot of single dorms. I'd really appreciate one, because...
Whoops.
But yeah, I did come up with a graceless segue while you were talking, because...
Oh boy.
Multitasking. Now it's time for us to backflip into a pit filled with foam blocks that just feel very fun and like a nice hug from a bunch of foam, because this episode week is a nice hug of things that we like and enjoy, and also I don't know how this format works, so Caroline, you are being put forth to go first.
Cool. So we're gonna hop right into, I guess I'll explain what kind of we're taking this from. As we mentioned, I think up at the top of the episode, up at the very tippy top, this is based off of, we're both pretty short people, so, it's on the high shelf. We gotta get a stepladder for it. But, as we mentioned, this is based on the podcast Wonderful, which I listen to, and it is from Griffin and Rachel McElroy. And I love a lot of things about the various McElroy products and podcasts. One of the chief reasons being that for 2 out of the 3 brothers, the podcast that they have with their wives is just like the wife knowing a lot about something, and then the husband being like, and I'm here and I'm doing jokes. It's very funny. And then Wonderful is like the exception to that rule, because by definition, Griffin and Rachel are bringing things that they both know a lot about, and because they both like are talking about things that make them really happy, and they have, I think, like over 100, if not over 200 episodes at this point, and it's just like an hour to like maybe 2 hours of them talking about stuff that they like for a really long time. It's so good, and it's not just like, these like extended discussions too. They have like little shout outs and like jumbotrons from listeners and all these other things. It's great. So the format of the podcast, as I know it, is they do like little small wonders up at the top, which is stuff they're not going to discuss, but that they like and they just want to give like an honorable mention to. And then they take turns. Each of them bring 2 topics that they've kind of researched and just are willing to expound upon and discuss. And yeah, they just switch back and forth between themselves. And maybe sometimes Rachel does something because she like studied poetry in college. She'll do a thing called Rachel's Poetry Corner, which is very good, and she'll just explain poetry in a very accessible way that I find very amusing. Like, she was the first person, and I've taken a lot of creative writing classes, that was like, yeah, you know what? Poetry gets a lot less stressful when you're just like, this is pretty words on a page, and I dig that. And I was like, thank you for giving me permission to not comprehend anything that goes on in a poetry class ever. 'Cause I don't normally. And, like, sometimes that's the secret. That's the key. It's very cool.
I mean, poets are just very good at pretending like they know what's going on. I never know what's going on in my own work. I never know what's going on in other people's work. I just kind of vibe, and I'm like, but, like, flames, though.
Whoa!
Based off of, not my poem, someone else's poem. They had a poem about flames, and I was like, good fire imagery.
Shout out to whoever that was. Anonymous person.
Anonymous poet.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I shall start with my first topic, which is kind of specific, but it's, a thing that I've kind of turned to recently. I'm still getting started in this interest, but it has thus far brought me, a not insignificant amount of joy, which is scented candles.
Ooh.
Yes. We've always had like little, kind of various scented wax things in my house, but I have 2 scented candles that are my very own, that I just get to have in my room as an open flame, which is very exciting. Not
what flavor? Is that the right word? Flavor? I mean,
flavor? Sure, maybe it is. Don't eat scented candles, but they can be flavors. I mean, most of taste is just smell anyway.
Yeah.
Again, I'll reiterate: don't eat scented candles, especially if they're lit.
Don't eat wax and don't eat fire unless you've been trained in how to properly eat fire. Then, like, really, I have no reason to tell you not to do something.
Yeah. But yeah, so the 2 scents flavors that I have, one was something that I requested because my mom was like, hey, I'm going to go to I think Bed Bath & Beyond, or maybe Bath & Body Works. One of those two. I think it was
Bath
maybe
and
Bath
Body
& Body
Works has, yeah, because Bed Bath & Beyond is like mattresses and stuff, isn't it?
Who knows? I assume that candles fall under Beyond, but I could be wrong.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so she was like, I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna get some stuff. Do you want anything? And I was like, face masks that are not the quarantine kind, but like the actual nice put on your face and help your like acne go down kind. And also a floral candle. Because my mom and I, we've had contentious debates in the past over what good scented candles are. Or I should clarify, what good wax scented things are, because we do not have solely candles in my household. We have these little wax melters, and then you get little wax pellet cube things, and then you melt those, and then they smell nice. So yeah. So I had one of those. Yeah.
Go ahead, and then I'll ask my question, because you can't just say we have contentious debates and not elaborate, because...
we'll get there.
Okay.
So I was, like, specific about, like, I want a floral candle, because that's nice. And then she got me a little, like, lilac blossom Yankee candle. It's a little, round, substantial candle. It is a substantial candle. And then more recently, shout out to, Piper and April, for my birthday, I got a pumpkin harvest candle, I think is the official title, from them for my 18th, along with a very nice face mask and bath bomb. And yeah, that one's also been very nice. It's, very, like, sweet smelling, and it's just very soothing to have. I don't know, normally I don't go for pumpkin spice flavored things, but I'm thinking of maybe reconsidering that policy. Because I was like, I'm just so over it. And now I'm here, I'm like, well, it's new again. Because it's been like a year since the last time I encountered pumpkin-flavored things.
Autumn has passed and returned.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm no longer going through pumpkin spice fatigue. Maybe this is the start of a new era for me. So on the contentious debates thing.
Yeah, that's a bold statement to make about...
Yeah,
What wars have you waged with your mother, Care?
I wouldn't say wars so much as just, like, disagreement. Okay, so I guess we need to start way back. I didn't honestly put this much thought into this going into this episode, but now I'm thinking about it. I actually have way more stuff that I can share here than I thought I did, so this is exciting.
Ooh.
So, like, I think around age 7 or 9, like, kind of mid to late grade school. Yeah, I know, right? I'm just as surprised as you are that this is relevant to this, but it is. I was okay, so, how do I, like, start explaining this? So, like, ages 7 or 9, keep in mind, I was homeschooled in elementary school, which meant that I was home a lot, and I had to figure out ways to entertain myself a lot. And just for some reason, I got very into the idea of, like, spa stuff?
Yeah, I feel like that's something that happened to a lot of people in late elementary school, because a lot of my friends were also into spa stuff, like,
simultaneously. Maybe this is a cultural phenomenon then, but I got very into spa stuff and was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could, like, I was very interested in maybe making it a business of having a spa in my own home.
Nice.
I was ambitious as a young child, you know? Like, I think this was around the age that I mentioned, like, you know, writing that friggin' book and being like, if this ever gets made into a movie, and, like, imagining I would have full control over casting decisions. So, you know, the confidence of youth really was shining bright in me at that moment. So, you know, I'm, like, interested in, like, spa-type things, word gets out to relatives, relatives give me presents, one of these presents being a little, wax melter thingy that, like, you plug into the wall and then there's a little light in it and that heats up a little glass plate and then you put wax stuff on the glass plate and then it melts and then it smells nice. And I used that a lot. And then my mom ended up, I think not a few, but like a substantial amount of years later, getting one of her own, or no, she ended up using it more than I did, like in common areas of the house. And like doing that, and she ended up at some point getting her own little like wax melty things, because apparently there's an industry for that.
I'm sure.
Like, yeah. Beyond the little like glass cylinders that I had with like, there's a little pink zebra logo on them and stuff. It was like very clearly meant for children. And then like more professional things of like, these are meant to be sold to adults.
These are for the adults.
These are for the grown-ups. These are the grown-up wax cubes.
Adult wax cubes. R-rated wax cube. Wait.
Yeah, I
had a bunch of thoughts all at once, and then I was like, no, I got it for my own sanity, just got it. Nope.
I saw all of those thoughts crashing into you at once. It was quite something.
Anyways, you were saying.
Yeah. So, she got, like, her own little things and started melting those, and at some point, the little glass, like, plate that had held the wax things broke, and so she was like, okay, I'm gonna get my own. And so now, like, wax melty things were solely the domain of my mother. And at some point she was, like, going through some stuff, and somehow or another I found out that she was, like, going through and she was gonna get rid of most of the, like, my little wax melty pellet things. And I was like, well, why are you doing that? And she was like, well, they're all too sweet smelling, except for, like, the freaking jasmine one, and I like scents that are, like, spicier. And I was like, but I would also like my room to smell like chocolate, maybe.
Fair.
For your consideration. And so, yeah, it's just been a thing that I've constantly had to be aware of. When getting my mom scented anything, I'm just like, oh, right, she's not gonna like the stuff that's, like, a lot more sweeter or, like, dessert smelling. She's gonna go for the stuff that's spicier. So, yeah, it was, like, a little bit of, there's a little bit of push and pull in terms of, like, no, I don't like that candle, don't like that in the, like, public common area in the home. Et cetera, et cetera. So that was what I was referring to. So yeah, and I've found that, like, I mean, I still have all of the little, like, wax things. Have not melted them in quite some time.
Fair enough.
Still have most of them. They do smell really nice. Sometimes I'll just, like, open the jar and just sniff them.
Never mind, again, I was about to say something and I was like, wait, let's stop.
No, you were gonna say that I was huffing the wax pellets. It's okay, you can say it.
You're huffing the scent.
Yeah. Yeah,
I hope that was audibly terrible for everyone.
You're the one who's gonna be editing this episode.
Yeah, but I only gotta listen to it once.
So does everyone listening to this, hopefully.
True, but, one can hope that, like, maybe someday someone's like, oh, I want to re-listen to things. I never want to re-listen to these episodes. I spend, like, 4 hours editing them, and I'm like, I'm good. I wash my hands of it. Goodbye.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with scented candles, and then tonight what I was actually going to share was the research I did, and by research I meant I read 3 different histories of scented candles on 3 different scented candle websites, because, they would know. Because I wanted to cross-reference my facts and not just go to Wikipedia, so I just went to 3 not even Yankee candles, like some really random candles. The first 3 I found.
Deep in the candle side of the internet.
Yeah, so I was like, so pleasant-smelling wax, how long has this been a thing? And apparently, relatively, depending on, like, how you count it, either super ancient or very new.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, the thing that 2 out of the 3 candle websites mentioned was that, candles have been around for a while. We like those as human beings.
We like light sources.
Yeah, we like having light sources, that last for a while. Most candles for a really long time were made of, like, tallow, which is, like, animal fat and stuff, and it's about as pleasant smelling as you would assume burning lard is.
Yep.
Because that's basically what you're doing. And they had beeswax candles, which were, like, not as smoky and produced, like, a nice aroma, because it's, got that kind of honey vibe going on. But those were expensive. And most people could not afford those, so that was for, like, churches and places that could afford them, and everyone else had to deal with burning lard.
The bourgeoisie get the beeswax.
The bourgeois bees. That's a merch design. We need a t-shirt with a little bee on it.
I mean, I just saw, like, Barry Benson, but in, like, a tuxedo, and I was like, this is a worse timeline than the actual Bee movie.
No, wait, but I want a little, like, cute little bee design, but it's got a little tuxedo on it. It's like a little, like, round bee, not a Barry Benson bee. That's just, like, bourgeois bee.
Yes, very good. We'll put that on our list of merch designs.
Yeah, it's like holding a glass of wine, saying something about the lower class. And then when people ask about what the graphic on the t-shirt is meant to mean, people can say it's a bourgeois bee. I think Shelby's gonna like that joke and maybe no one else.
Yeah, I mean, but if Shelby likes it, then I feel like we've already won, you know?
Yeah, that's who we're making this podcast for, is Shelby. Shout out to Shelby. So yeah, and you know, like, the tallow versus beeswax thing, that was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like, that's mainly over in Europe, though. That's mainly over in, like, England, where it's cold and miserable and shit for, like, most of the Middle Ages. Over in China, they're kind of vibing. And they have these, like, clock candles. Yeah, these clock candles that can tell the time as stuff burns, like, as the candle burns down, you can kind of tell what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they would sometimes stick incense, like, in or around the candles to make them smell better. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, like, an early example of candles which smell nice. Or people trying to make candles smell nice. And then in India, they apparently figured out a way to make candles from a kind of, like, they would boil cinnamon and make wax from that, and that obviously produced a really nice smelling wax. Like, fucking India, ahead of the game as always. Goddamn. Which was, like, absolutely great. But the thing is, the funny thing about a lot of these histories was that all of them were like, and here's a bunch of different waxes, and there was nothing about, like, different smells or, like, scents that people put in them. And then almost all of them were like, and then with the invention of the light bulb in 1879, candles kind of dropped off the face of the earth, more or less. We did not have any more advancements. Yeah, people didn't need candles anymore. So they were like, candles just kind of stopped. Like, they were still around, obviously. People could still light candles and stuff for, like, dinners and stuff, but there was no chandlers, as candle makers are known, which is kind of unfortunate, given that it's now, like, an actual name. Chandlers just didn't have a reason to, like, innovate in that area anymore.
I guess.
Because they were like, well, light bulbs have happened, so we're kind of out of luck.
We've been outmaneuvered.
Yeah. We've got, you know, paraffin, we've gotten some, like, some harder wax that we can mix with the paraffin to make them more durable, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they obviously moved past tallow at that point, and were like, you know, some pretty sophisticated stuff to, like, leave off at a stopping point. And then every single... I figured this has gotta be true, because every single, website that I looked at shared the same, point of interest, which is, then in the 80s and 90s, scented candles suddenly became very popular. Like, candles in general suddenly skyrocketed in popularity, and people were like, oh, we need to make these smell nice now? And I confirmed this with my mom, who's an adult.
An expert in the 80s and 90s.
She was alive, which is more than I can say for myself.
That's true.
And I was like, hey mom, what was up with candles in, like, the 80s and 90s? And she was like, yeah, that's about right. They were, a little bit more popular in the 90s. That was when I started being aware of them. And yeah, apparently, like, as more and more people, like, entered the workforce, and, like, you had the, like, 80s, like, women, a lot of them were still homemakers, but, like, a lot of them were also entering, like, executive spaces as, you know, like, employees for the first time. Candles and aromatherapy were, like, kind of a necessity for, you know, the tired business exec who just wanted to unwind after work. So yeah, 80s and 90s, scented candles suddenly became super freaking popular, which I did not know. And then Yankee Candle was fucking ahead of their time, because they were founded in 1969. And they were like, they had built themselves up by the time that, you know, the candle craze really started kicking off. They had like 10 years of experience under their belt, and they were like, alright, we got this. We got this.
Fucking Yankee Candle.
Fucking Yankee Candle. They were like, listen, they said we couldn't do it. They said that starting a candle business in this economy was a terrible idea. Now look at us.
Look at it.
Like, God, what visionaries. What a comeback. Amazing. So
True.
Yeah, scented candles. Very fun. And now, of course, we have a bunch of scented candles in a bunch of different colors, and a bunch of different varieties and sizes and shapes. And it's generally a good time. There's that, like, Sophia Nygaard video of her melting together every single
I was gonna
candle.
ask you about if you'd seen that video.
Yes, I watched most, if not all, of the Franken-Science videos, or the Bad Makeup Science videos, or whatever they're called. I'm just like, yeah, put all those things together and make one big thing. I like this. This is
pleasing.
Content. Yes. So yeah. Candles, man. They're freaking great. It's really nice to just have something that I can focus on. Essentially, it's nice to have it going. Number one, good light source. Like, having a little, like, small glowing candle is really nice, because it's not as intense as, like, overhead lights, which I've gotten way too used to in the era of, like, Zoom classes and stuff. But it's still bright enough that I can reasonably see what I'm doing if I need to do anything. So, for one of the fondest memories of this summer, was watching A Crown of Candy at night and, like, having my little, like, purple candle next to me, and there was, like, the purple and magenta kind of vibe of Crown of Candy. And just chilling out that way. And I also had my little melatonin gummies, which are also purple, so it was, like, very aesthetically...
Ooh.
Uniform. Yeah, it was very nice. So yeah, that's my thing on scented candles.
I did want to say, because you kind of mentioned this, but I want to know, what are your favorite scent smells for candles? Scent flavor smells.
I don't know. I still really like the sweet smelling stuff. But I think floral is honestly really where it's at for me right now. Just, nature vibes, if not actual nature. I don't know, you can't really beat flowers. I mean, flowers were like the first organisms to figure out how to smell pretty, and I feel like, they've kind of stayed on top of the game ever since. Can't disrespect the flowers.
Yeah, they didn't do whatever sweat is, which was a plus for them.
I mean, shout out to all the flowers out there. Killing the game.
Have you ever seen, like, those commercials for dude candles? This is kind of just, like...
Yes!
In the same vein as, like, the dude soap, and it's like, it smells like tar, and that's supposed to be appealing. But there's, like, that whole class of, like, candles, but for men, and I just have to be like, what the fuck? What are you doing?
Yeah, there's also this lovely, God, I've seen a Slate article about this. I read a lot of Slate articles, but there is one in particular about, like, there's this Twitter account that catalogs the specific, like, all of the smells that are used to describe various protagonists of romance novels, because that's the thing that happens a lot.
Vanilla.
It's very funny. They apparently, the scent descriptions, either consciously or not, do follow the, like, scent description formula, which I think is, like, head note, and then, or, like, top note, head note, base note, or something. There are 3 notes in every, like, smell combination. Like, the first one, and then, like, the big middle one, and then, like, the aftertaste of smells. I'm forgetting what all of them are called, but, that's kind of the general vibe. And a lot of them are, like, fairly similar. A lot of it's just, like, sweat. There's a fair amount of, like, sandalwood. And apparently there's at least one romance writer who's, like, taken to Twitter to be like, I've gotta fucking stop myself from writing all of my dude characters as smelling like ivory soap. I don't know why, this is a very good smell for me. And I was like, I love that. I love that.
I mean, at least
I
it's
don't know,
unique.
like, it's corny. Like, I do think that, like, as with romance novels, I mean, you're not going to that for great literature. You're going to that for, like, a fun read. So, like, describing how people smell that much is a little bit cheesy, but also I really like that it's someone who's, like, taken time to, like, observe that about other people and to, like, narrow that down, because, like, figuring out what other people smell like is freaking hard.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a very, like, I know olfactory memory is, like, really strong, but that also means everything is so specific to one person that it's hard to figure out where all of those notes are coming from. So I kind of appreciate that someone's like, yeah, you know what? This soap is what I'm sticking with. This is what's it for me. This is what I find attractive. And I'm like, that's good. I like that you have something that you go to actively to, like, observe and enjoy in your life. So yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that's the reason why I write scripts, but that's definitely a reason why I write scripts, is like, I don't have to worry about any sense but vision and sound. Not my problem. Not my problem.
Was that a pun? Was that a goddamn pun?
No, but I fuck, dude, I don't know.
Because you said I don't have to worry about any sense, and I was like, I guess that's true, you do work entirely in visual media. And then you were like, except for visual and sound, and I was like, wait, no, I've misunderstood. Or you've just made a joke.
Funny boy.
It's 8:43. I don't normally, this is not past my bedtime. This is far before my bedtime, but I feel like, I don't know, this is sleepover energy, if anything else.
Yes.
If nothing else.
This is way past the time where I'm normally talking to people. We tried to have an NHS meeting late at night, and I was like, oh boy, I'm out.
I don't know why, but NHS meeting late at night just evoked this image of, like, a summer camp or something, when you're all, like, sitting around a campfire or something, or, like, you're sitting in the weird, like, camp auditorium thing they have, and you're just, like, all huddled around talking about something. Don't know why that was the image that popped into my head, but, you know, NHS, but summer camp.
NHS, but it's, but we just go on a retreat, the 6 leaders. No. And then before I get into my thing, I just want to say, I do have a tallow fact. It's not really a tallow fact, it is just a thing related to that. It's, the D&D character I've touched on briefly, and I played, and I can't play anymore because of scheduling. But Tal's full name is actually Tallow, because of the same, like, in addition to making candles out of it, because it was like a sealer, they used to seal boats with it, and that was like a whole thing. So that's why they're named Tallow, because they are an ocean person.
Oh, that's so cool!
It's all connected.
You have an ocean person that you played? I wanna...
Yeah.
We're talking more about this at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's gonna be on this episode, but that's fucking cool as hell.
I'll send you the info about Genazis. They're fucking dope.
Oh, are they a water Genazi?
They are a water Genazi.
Yes!
Very good. Alright. I guess this answers the question. I made a whole list of things. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I know now, and my nerd shit is coming through strong, because I want to talk about black holes, because I fucking love black holes. Anyone who's ever spent any amount of time talking to me knows that I love stars, I love black holes. Okay. I'm sure that anyone wondering is like, why black holes? Like, is it your abject fear of death? No, it's not anything morbid, actually. It's that, as people may know, I love physics. It's my thing. It's the thing that I am probably most known for, is the fact that I love physics. But maybe a lesser known fact, except for everyone who's read my college essay, is that the reason why I first got interested in physics is that I was in a summer program, and our TA, it was an engineering program, but our TA was a physics student, and so he was like, I don't know jack shit about engineering, really, so I can't teach you about engineering, and TAs have to lead evening study, and he was like, you know what? Fuck it, we're not doing engineering, we're doing what I feel like. So we did a bunch of, like, random stuff. We watched the movie... Is it called Gravity? It's the one where she, like, crashes down from the International Space Station. I think it's called Gravity.
Hell if I know.
It's a not good film.
Good.
But we made fun of it. But one day he was like, yo, children. He didn't say this. He did not call us children. But he was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you about black holes. And I was like, what the fuck? What is this? What are you talking about? Like, I knew what they were, kind of, but not really. And so he explained what a black hole was. And then he also went, like, into the actual science behind black holes. And as he was doing the math, I was like, this is the fucking... this is the coolest thing that anyone has ever shown me ever. And he was like, this is physics. And I was like, god damn, I love physics now. My dad didn't convince me, this did. And now I'm super into physics. But black holes. So, for anyone who's like, what is a black hole? If you've just heard that word and you're like, what the fuck is that? Black holes are what happens when really big stars collapse. So stars do this whole thing where, like, they explode and collapse a lot. That's the thing that stars do.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of pressure. So when a big old star supernovas, it then collapses down, and you get this little, infinitely small point in space, which is, like, one of the reasons why black holes are so cool, because it's, like, no matter how small you think in your brain, like, this is how small it is. An actual black hole is much, much smaller, because it's a single, like, point. Yeah, so, like...
They're little?
The thing with black holes is, like, they appear to be these super giant things, right? But they're not. They're actually, like, a tiny, tiny singularity point. And what they do is, like, because they're so small and they're super duper massive. So, like, a black hole is very tiny, but it's very, like, this is gonna sound super stupid. It's very small, but it's very big, because it's, like, the area it takes up is, like, one singularity. It's smaller than, like, anything in the universe. But because it can take in so much mass as it just consumes and consumes and consumes and consumes, it has this giant gravitational field that actually warps space. So the reason that, like, space isn't a linear thing, our space is wavy, and, like, warped and stuff because black holes and these, like, super massive centers of gravity exist. And so the reason why black holes look super big is because their gravitational field actually bends light. So, like, when you see those giant images of black holes with the event horizon around them, what you're seeing is, like, the point at which light can no longer escape the gravitational field and instead just sucked into the black hole. Light is light doesn't have mass. It shouldn't be able to be sucked into anything, but black holes have so much gravity that they, like, literally suck in light, and even light cannot move fast enough to escape a black hole. I know! Dude. Do you see why I love them so much?
So good!
So yeah, black holes are, like, they're fascinating because, like, we don't know anything about them. We, like, look at them, and we're like, okay, it's super tiny, but it's also super big, and it has super, like, a lot of gravity. But, of course, the question is, when something gets sucked into a black hole, where does it go? Is it just in there? Because it's, like, one singular
goes
point
into its pockets.
Yeah, it's a pocket dimension. One singular point shouldn't be able to hold that much, like, mass, right? And so my favorite thing is, like, with black holes, there are these theorized white holes, which is, like, one, it shows you how dumb, like, yeah, science and naming conventions are bad, but it's very funny because, like, the idea is, when something gets sucked into a black hole, it doesn't actually stay there. Somewhere way off in the other side of our universe, there's just a point where, like, random matter is being thrown out into space, and black holes are just, like, tunnels through the universe. And I was like, holy... There's no proof for this, but I was like, holy shit, that's so cool.
So there's an inverse space?
Yeah, there's, like, you can go very quickly through space, and someone was like, oh, so, like, instantaneous travel? And it was like, no, you get ripped apart, but also, you get ripped apart by a black hole. Metal as hell. But yeah, I love black holes. I think that they're very cool. I think that the idea of something that it's, like, one, it's a dead star, and it becomes, like, the complete opposite of what a star is, because, like, stars are, like, these creationary things. That's kind of, like, the big deal with stars. So to have, like, the idea of, like, a supermassive creationary force becoming a supermassive destruction force, like, the writer in me was like, oh, fuck, that's some symbolism right there. That's, like, that's some, like, god devil shit that you got going on, but it's space and it's real. Sorry, religious people.
Sorry, Jesus.
Sorry, Jesus.
R.I.P. to you, Lucifer, but black holes are different. But they're the same, but they're different.
Yeah, but black holes, yeah, and that's kind of it. I mean, like, you know, black holes, that's pretty much the science of it. There's, like, a bunch of technical stuff that even I don't know, but what's really cool about them is that they're, like, super tiny, but they look super big, and they, like, are the most powerful things in our universe. But this is my favorite black hole fact, right?
Okay.
So, black holes, you know, we think of black holes as, like, the giant ones in space, like the one at the center of our, I think it's at the center of our galaxy, like, our galactic cluster has a black hole at the center of it, but also, you can have micro black holes, which are, like, the radius of their event horizon is, like, up to 1 millimeter, which is, like, very, very small, and I think that's, like, that's the cutest thing ever, is just, like, a tiny, tiny black hole, just vibing, and I was like, that's adorable.
That's so cute! I want a pet black hole!
So yeah, there was a period of time where I was just imagining, like, a bunch of little, like, kind of like the soot sprites from Studio Ghibli films, but they were black holes, and they were just, like, around. And I was like, this is the cutest thing ever, and I will never be able to make a script or anything out of it, but it will live in my head rent-free. And, like, micro black holes just... Ooh, I love all black holes, but those hold a special place in my heart, because it's like, it's a black hole, but it's a baby!
It's a baby!
It is baby!
It is baby! That's so good! I thought I'd, like, found the cutest thing I was gonna find today when I discovered holophants on the Forgotten Realms wiki, but that is better. That is way better.
What's a holophant?
Like, they're squishy little baby elephants that are bright gold. That fly.
So, like, if a cherubim and an elephant were, like, squished together, very good.
If you put, but that's so much better because, okay, so, while you were talking, I got very excited about a few things. So, number one, I did not know that black holes were bitty to begin with. I did not know that they were small. I thought that they were big things, and they're small things!
They're singularities.
Black holes are like the space equivalent of when, like, a character in a movie casts a really big, imposing shadow, and then, like, the light hits them and it turns out that they're just baby.
Yes. I mean, they are, like, you know, massive destroyers of things, but also...
They're baby!
They're infinitely small. Like,
they're
how
so
can
little!
how can you truly be intimidated by something when its, like, actual size is described as infinitely small?
Yeah. Also, when you said the writer and you got very happy about that, I also got very happy about that, because there's a fucking cheesy-ass lesson about, like, no matter how small you are, you can still affect things in a really big way.
You can grow to be...
You don't even have to grow! You can just be small and still affect things! And, like, destroy shit! And eat light!
Yep.
Short kings, rise up!
You're not wrong, but also, I hate it.
But also, baby black holes! God, I'm so happy that I know that black holes are little. Also, I have a tiny black hole fact, which is that, so I have the BBC app on my phone, which is the thing that Eli knows, because I send a lot of BBC articles out to people when I think that they are interesting. Or when I think that the BBC is being adorably British about something. Which is often. And one of the, like, they give you the option to, like, follow certain, like, tags for news articles and stuff, and so one of the things that I've just decided to do is I have just, like, listed astrophysics as one of the topics that I'm interested in, so I will have things to send you occasionally. And one of the things that I decided to send, most recently, because the astrophysics tag on BBC shockingly doesn't get updated a lot, but, the thing that I did send was this thing that I sent solely based on the headline, which was, like, record-setting black hole seen to do a shimmy. And the phrase "do a shimmy" in relation to, like, this cosmic made me so happy. It just wiggled. It gave him the old razzle-dazzle.
They're out there vibing, Carol.
Yeah, so they were like, yeah, we took a picture of it, and then it, whoop, like, it did a little dance.
It did a little
yeah, and, like, yeah, I don't know, just the idea of just, like, a little black hole just kind of warbling and wobbling its way, just be like, makes me very happy. And I know that they're little now. I can't get over that. I will never be over that. That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Aww. Yep. Okay. Well, for my next topic, that actually leads in quite well, because mine also has to do with stars, but my stars are different because they're actually pretty ladies. I'm gonna explain.
Nice. You know, do that. That was a great segue. I commend that.
So, I'm gonna talk about a movie that I've liked for a really long time. I've always considered kind of obscure, but people on the internet have mentioned it once or twice, and I've seen it, and I've been like, oh, maybe this is not as uncommon of a movie as I think it is. And it is one of my favorite feel-good movies, and it is Stardust, made in 2007, based off of the Neil Gaiman book of the same name, which I did not know until, like, my most recent watch-through, 2 years ago. So this is another episode of Care recaps a movie she hasn't seen in a while, which may be a mistake, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not exactly... You don't need to follow a whole lot of plot to understand Stardust. So, premise of the movie is there's this boy named Tristan, and he really likes this girl, Victoria, in his little English village, and he's like, I want to marry this girl. But then Henry Cavill rocks up and is like, but I'm rich though, and so I'm gonna steal your girl. And then Victoria's like, hey, there was a shooting star last night that fell on the other side of the wall around our village. If you go and get that for me, then I'll marry you. Victoria's kind of problematic. Tristan does not pick up on this until significantly later in the movie. But you know, if you know what a healthy relationship looks like, the transactional vibes immediately off. So Tristan, you know, sets off to cross this wall, which is like one of those English country walls, so it's like made of cobblestones, and it's like maybe 3 feet high at the tallest. It's very like ramshackly, it's kind of falling apart in places, it's mossy, it's very aesthetic. Gets his ass beat by the old guy who guards the wall. Like, soundly. Truly soundly. But he ends up getting over there, and he ends up, tracking down the star, and it turns out that the wall is actually a portal to a magical place. If you cross the wall, you're in a magic place. And it's
sounds
magic.
very Neil Gaiman.
Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. You know, it's one of those British books where, like, you're in a different world, which I'm kind of just beginning to realize maybe a little bit of a reflection of British imperialism, of, like, we're gonna go to this mystical place and fuck around for a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
But this was written by Neil Gaiman, so I think significantly after the British Imperial era. Unless Neil Gaiman has something he's not telling us.
Yeah. Maybe Neil Gaiman is in fact like 500 years old. We don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. And he basically goes off on this adventure and he tracks down the crater where the star is, and holy shit, there's a lady there instead of a star!
Oh, fuck.
Because it turns out if a star lands on that side of the wall in the magic place, they turn out to be actually, like, pretty ladies. And normally they just live up in the sky and they kind of just watch over everything and chill out, as they should. But then they fall down. Mm-hmm. And then people are after them because, holy shit, star? And then the movie, you know, really picks up after that with all kinds of high fantasy hijinks. It's billed as like a fantasy romance. I think I was considering it and I was like, the best way I can describe this movie is like, I think if it were like Princess Bride, but it had some like Pirates of the Caribbean thrown in, because there are also sky pirates.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's got sky pirates, and Robert De Niro is the sky pirate captain, and he's named Captain Shakespeare.
As he should.
Oh my god. It's not... Listen. It's made in 2007, so it's of its time. That being said, Captain Shakespeare is one of my favorite characters. I'm gonna say this. I think Shelby would like Captain Shakespeare. That's all I'm gonna say.
I feel like you should say more.
No, I shouldn't, because it's a really fun plot point.
Okay.
But this movie has so many things that I like. It's got magic.
Yep.
It's got a fun little makeover montage scene. It's got two people sassing each other for like an hour and a half as they slowly fall in love. We love to see
beautiful.
it. It's so beautiful. Did I say Sky Pirates already? I'm gonna say Sky Pirates again.
Not in this list, though.
Yeah, Sky Pirates. So good. It's got like some really decent world building and cool narration. It's got so many pretty sets and scenery. I looked at this on Wikipedia before coming to this recording session, and apparently it was filmed largely on location in like parts of rural England. And they filmed some parts in Iceland, and then the line on Wikipedia was they wanted to film more scene in Iceland, but they could not find the necessary horses. I don't know what that means. But apparently.
That's a beautiful reason to be like, we can't film anymore in Iceland. We just, like, the horses, they're not here.
We do not have the requisite horses. I do not know what that means. I do not understand it, but it's very pretty.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's just a very good movie. There are like 3 different plots going on. They're relatively easy to follow. It's just one of those movies that has like a little bit of every single little genre sprinkled in a really satisfying way.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where like you can for sure tell that it's based on a book just because of the amount of like, this world is definitely much more expansive than what is being revealed in this right now. Like there's a lot of history and stuff that's clearly here. But you know, it's, you know, like it still fits within the movie. And I looked it up, and apparently Neil Gaiman, like, fucking sounded like a dream to work with, because he was like, okay, I want to be really involved with this to make sure that my work does not get completely bastardized. Which is fair. God help me, if any of my shit ever gets made into a movie, God help me that I am also in that position to be able to be like, no, don't fucking do it.
Don't do it. Don't you dare.
But he was also, I mean, he, like, executive produced it, but he was also, like, kind of hands-off, in that he was, like, very chill about, I understand that this is, like, the audiobook for Stardust is 10.5 hours.
Yep.
So he was like, so this is gonna need, some things are gonna need to change for this to fit into, like, a 90-minute feature film. So he was very chill about that, and he was also very chill about them kind of changing the movie tonally from the book, so it's not something that I think, like, if you've read the book Stardust and somehow you've never heard about the movie, you're gonna be like, oh shit, like, I gotta go watch this and, like, see all of this, because apparently the book Stardust is much darker, and has a lot of, like, decidedly more adult themes and, like, sex and violence and stuff. Stardust does have one sex, but that's it.
A singular sex.
A singular sex, and it's not even really on screen that much. And, like, violence, but doable. Like, it's not, like, excessive or gratuitous, in my opinion. It's just like PG-13 fantasy violence. But he was like, yeah, this can totally change. We can add stuff, we can expand stuff, all of these things. Apparently Captain Shakespeare shows up in the book, but isn't as much of like a big role as he is in the movie. I'm so glad they expanded his role. It makes me so happy. Such a good character. There was like a whole side plot with him. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And I can't say a whole lot about it, but it's like, damn, that's a delicious character.
Chef's kiss.
That's some good flavor that they put in that character. And I will say this, heterosexual romance stories, I am normally about.
Mm-hmm.
This one is actually very compelling.
That's always good.
Yeah, I don't know, I think, like, in terms of male protagonists, Tristan is a pretty good one. He's pretty solid. He's not, this perfect paragon. He's still very much a person who is learning and trying and becoming a better person, and I really like that for him. Also, I think you would like him if, based off of my limited knowledge of fantasy heroes who you like, he does have kind of a little bit of the Orlando Bloom from Pirates of the Caribbean vibe. A little bit.
Will, question mark.
Yeah! That motherfucker.
Fair.
Yes. And, like, I don't know, Yvain is the star who falls, and, like, who Tristan has to kind of escort back to Victoria to, like, get that ring on Victoria's finger. But it's, like, a really nice relationship, and I think it builds really well. And there's, this one really good scene where, like, they basically have to hide from people who are, like, out looking for Yvain, or, like, out from some passersby, and they have this really cute conversation, like, very close together, because it's, like, one of those scenes where it's like, oh, are they gonna kiss at some point? And it's, like, I don't know, it's played out very well, in a really satisfying way, and yeah, it makes my heart happy. I think this is not gonna be a surprise to longtime listeners, but this was a movie that was introduced to me by my babysitter, Rachel. So shout out to Rachel. I think we saw it on Amazon Prime. I believe it's on Netflix right now, which is part of why this, like, memory has been dug back up. I just remember at one point, so Michelle Pfeiffer's in this movie as the main antagonist, because witches be after Yvain. And that's kind of
fair.
Thing.
Sounds like no
and Yvain is great, very pretty, also very sassy, also very naive. There's a lot going on with Yvain, because she's like, she's like this eternal being who's like lived in the cosmos forever, but also has never interacted with a human being before. So there's that going on.
A good dynamic.
Yeah, so it's got that kind of like balancing act going on. So she sees the best in people, like if they give her no reason to do otherwise. And so at some point when in the movie, the witch like lures her into this trap, and like it's Michelle Pfeiffer looking like her normal Michelle Pfeiffer self instead of like the hag version of the witch, because she's like transformed herself at this point. And at some point she's like, oh hey, you look so tired, you want a massage? Except she's British, so she says it massage, which is like a whole, I didn't know that British people said it that way until that movie, because I'd never had reason to hear a British person say the word massage before. And there was something in my brain, tiny little baby gay brain sonar went off, and I was like, huh? And
what?
Looking back, I'm like, oh, I was unconsciously picking up on the, like, relationship dynamic of a lot of lesbian media in that moment, of just, like, older women being like, hey, I'm gonna take you under my wing and be physically affectionate. It's like, oh. That's what that was.
Yep.
But nothing, it's not queer. I'm gonna be upfront about it. As much
as we may wish otherwise.
Yeah, as much as we may wish otherwise. Pretty Star Lady, not gay. Or bi. Or pan. Well, maybe pan. She's only in a heterosexual relationship on screen, is all I know. And I don't know what the dating scene is like for stars. I think it's implied that they're all sisters or family or something. I don't know. Eli would know better than I do about how stars happen. I assume it's not when a mama star and a dad star love each other very much.
Yeah, it's a little bit more violent than that, maybe. It's like when a mom star explodes, gravity happens, and then there's a new star. Hell yeah. That's it.
It's dramatic. Dramatic as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just a very fun feel-good movie, and apparently it's a lot of other people's fun feel-good movies, and apparently a lot of other people also did not know that Neil Gaiman did the book. So Neil Gaiman's Twitter has just been like, yeah, no, I did do Stardust. I did do that.
was me.
That was the thing. That was me. That was on me. So yeah, it's a decidedly fun movie. I will say this, Ricky Gervais does show up in it, but he ends up getting a hex on him that makes him shut up for the rest of the movie, which is a plus. So that's cathartic. So yeah, Stardust, it's on Netflix. Ooh. You should I think it's still on Netflix anyway. I hope it's still on Netflix. You should absolutely go watch it, because that's something that I'm gonna do this weekend too. It's great.
According to Google, it is on Netflix. I'm clicking through to my Netflix right now to see if it shows up. No, I don't want you yes, it is on Netflix. Yay! I have to say, it made my heart very happy when you mentioned Neil Gaiman, because my favorite author boy. And if you're like, man, I want to see something by Neil Gaiman that is wholesome and is maybe queer, Good Omens, because there's a whole thing with it about, like, how it's a love story, and it's very good because it's, like, it's not necessarily romantic love, but it is definitely, like, two people who love each other, well, not people, two entities who love each other very much, and
we can say people. Entities can be people, too.
Angels and demons can be people, too. Yes. But yeah, whenever someone mentions Neil Gaiman, I'm like, ah! I don't make that noise.
Yeah, that's kind of like why I was thinking about doing this. It was like, between Will from Pirates of the Caribbean aesthetic, and also this is good. Yes. So yeah, this isn't a call to action for the listeners. I don't give a shit if you're listening to this later and you want to watch it. Eli, you need to watch it this weekend at some point, and let me know what you think.
Cool. I will put it on my to-do list after the very scant homework, because it's the end of the grading cycle, and every teacher was like, fuck homework.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, I guess I'll do the media thing that's more like a genre of media that I enjoy and I think is good. It's not really a genre, it's just a specific type, but I really I put soft horror is how I would describe it, like surreal/soft horror media, and this came into my mind because I was recently, Miss Swiddick was asking us, like, what aesthetics are we really into right now, and I was like, so what I did do is I looked up Tim Burton, and then I found his, like, line art that he used to do. So he has, like, Tim Burton is Tim Burton. He's done, like, all the Tim Burton things. But, if you, like, search around enough, you can find these, like, pencil-on-paper drawings that he did of his characters, because he was, like, I think either before, or, like, he's also been, like, a hand drawer. He illustrated a bunch of things. I forgot, he didn't illustrate Nightmare Before Christmas. I was about to say that, but that's not true. But he was, like, an illustrator, and if you look at it, it's, like, it's very clearly meant to be creepy, and maybe a little bit horror, but it is, like, it's soft. It's, like, an animated character. They're very cute. But what I would put into this category are, like, Gravity Falls and Over the Garden Wall, and I just started watching Over the Garden Wall. I've seen, like, I saw, like, episodes 9 and 10. I don't know why I only saw the last 2 episodes of Over the Garden Wall, but I watched the last 2 episodes. And then I've gone back, because now that I have Hulu, I was like, you know, I should probably see this, because I heard that it was a really good show.
Yes. But Elijah Wood, yes. I just like things that Elijah Wood is in. That is my thing.
That's fair. That's fair.
Look at the little Hobbit man go.
True. Elijah Wood's
you were saying.
But yeah, I think it gets back to, alright, here's the thing. I've talked about this before. I really like cryptids. I think that they're very cool. I think that the idea of the cryptid, I gave this spiel to someone. I think I gave it to, like, Iggy and Miss Opte, which is a weird combination of people.
That is a weird combination of people.
I think, like, the way that I have observed it is that human beings have a tendency towards myth-making. Like, that is something that, like, we as human beings, in one way or another, are, like, drawn to do. Every society and, like, at every stage of human evolution and, like, societal evolution, you see these, like, the myths and stories. Like, if they're really old, we call them myths, and then we call them, like, legends and folk tales, and so you see, like, it's the same thing, but through different points of history. And very recently we have, like, urban legends and cryptids, and I think, like, that's just, like, as much as it's, like, I hate to be like, you know, Mothman is equivalent to the Minotaur, but truly, what is the difference between the two, except that, you know, one of them was in a labyrinth in ancient Greece, and the other one is something people want to have sex with in 2020.
I mean, who's to say there weren't some freaks in ancient Greece who were like, you know what, I would.
Oh, I'm sure that there were. I mean, the ancient Grecians saw no problem with, like, human bull copulation, so, I mean, they saw a problem with it, but they were also like, this is a thing that can happen, right? And everyone was like, yeah, it's a thing that can happen and produce a child.
Because, speciation is a thing.
Mm-hmm. The myth of the Minotaur, if you don't know, it's fucked.
I think we covered up...
I may have talked about it.
Yeah, the myth of the Minotaur is fucked, so is the bull in that story. Had to do it to him.
I had to do it to him. But yeah, I think that my fascination with cryptids has mean that I find, like, this soft horror... I can't do a lot of horror, but I do find soft horror very, very fun. And I think it's the aesthetic of... I enjoy reading things that are creepy and weird, but are at the end of the day not meant to be scary, because I enjoy writing things that are creepy and weird and are at the end of the day not meant to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's, like... I don't know. I think that there's a very delicate balance to be like, I want this to be unsettling, but I also want someone to walk away from it not feeling bad, which I think is something that Gravity Falls and Over the Garden Wall do very well, because it's like, at the end of the day, even if it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, I think of Weird Mageddon, which was very much like, all 3 episodes kind of ended at a place where you're like, what? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you still walk away from it ultimately. Like, you can watch horrifying things happen, and it doesn't ever make you feel like, I just am uncomfortable in myself and in my skin, and I don't want to be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that a lot. And I wrote a soft horror script that I'm very proud of in the past week, so that's why it's on my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes into hard horror, but then I was like, and I'm going to cut it there. But yeah. That's my thing. This is not really an expansive category. I don't have much intelligence to say about that, but I would say, like, if you've never seen any of Tim Burton's, like, flat on paper artwork, look it up. It's super cool. He's, like, a really talented artist. I think that he's very fun and interesting.
Yeah.
I think that anyone who can be Tim Burton is very fun and interesting.
Yeah. I think, like, I think this is something we kind of covered in our animation episode way back in episode 10, which feels much longer ago than it was because we recorded it so far in advance.
Yeah.
We truly, truly did. It was 3 episodes ago for y'all. Lifetime for us.
Fully 3 months.
Something that I think maybe plays into that is a lot of soft horror is aimed at children and is aimed at, like, younger audiences, and something we kind of touched on in the animation episode was that, like, when you can't go to the default most extreme stuff that's in, like, adult media of, like, you can't go to, like, sex or, like, death or murder or gore, you have to get a lot more inventive with your storytelling to make it still palatable for kids but still get your message across and that same emotional intensity across. So I think, like, when you're working in kind of stuff that is, like, soft horror that's, like, meant to unsettle, but is, like, primarily meant to unsettle literal children, you can't really, like, have your intended audience walk away from that going, I'm not going to sleep tonight. Like, working in this world of, like, hey, we're gonna go to a weird place for a minute, but it's gonna be okay and you don't need to have nightmares about this, is, like, a fine line to tread. So yeah, I think it makes sense that, like, that's why it's so appealing. I think also, like, associating, part of why I think I really like it is because I associate a lot of that with childhood. Like, Tim Burton stuff is, like, kind of a staple of a lot of people's growing up, like, elementary school experience. So I think, like, there is something also comforting in those big, big eyes and those tiny little limbs.
That's true. And yeah. I think it's very true that, like, more than any other age group, I think children consume the most, like, horror media. And what I mean by that is, like, all the scary stories to tell around the campfire, like, that's a thing that you do as a kid, not really as, like, a grown person. Or, like, the Goosebumps books, which are probably, like, one of the most, at the very least, numerous horror genres of all time, is this, like, very explicitly for kids. And I think part of that is that it's fun. Soft horror is fun because each soft horror is so unique in a way that I feel like adult horror isn't. Because it's like, at the end of the day, there are like 50 different slasher movies that are just the same plot, but there's a different psychopath behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to talk about Gravity Falls for a while, because I'm in my feelings about Gravity Falls at all time. I have my Dipper hat behind me. I put it on the other day because I was feeling reminiscent. But I think of, like, there are a lot of Gravity Falls episodes that I really like, but I think one of the best ones that comes to mind is the Halloween episode, or they don't call it Halloween, Summerween.
Summerween, yeah. Yeah,
because that's, like, from what I remember, again, like Care, this is something that I saw maybe 2 years ago, maybe. But it's, like, that's a the monster in that feels very much like something that would be in an adult horror movie, because it's like, you know, this, like, looming figure who's coming to take something from you, and if you don't, like, make a sacrifice to this eldritch entity, you're gonna get got. It's kind of like the plot of that episode from what I remember. And so it manages to take, like, a very conventional horror trope and then, like, turn it into something that kids can watch. Because, like, you know, there's a lot of...
watermelon.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, you must please the eldritch entities in, like, horror, and that's kind of, like, a Lovecraftian thing. But it's also, like, he's just... big old guy come to mess up your day. And at the end, they win, and they get to walk away. Let's see, what... I'm gonna... This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go look at the list of Gravity Falls episodes, and I can talk about them.
Yeah. I will, do you need me to say things while you do that?
Sure. It's just
okay.
Not gonna take very long unless this doesn't load. That would be a problem.
That would be a problem. So I'm just gonna say that I think, like, part of that is, like, again, you have to be more creative when telling stories for children. I think when telling stories for children, there's also, like, people who do that, who choose to do that, are also, like, very intentional about, like, children's media is, like, so rooted explicitly in playing in imaginative spaces. So you're not entering a world that's like, this is dangerous and things are going to kill you. It's like, let's explore this kind of concept and let's kind of play pretend for a while, and we're gonna all suspend our disbelief, and we're gonna run around in this world where, like, this crazy thing happens. So it's not necessarily presented... I mean, it's for sure threatening. So I remember, like, that episode, it does get creepy at points, and, like, it's not scary, but it's not unsettling, I think, because it's so, I don't know, it's so exploratory, and it's so, like, imaginative, and it's not, like, it's setting out more to explore a concept and to play in your own imagination than it is to, like, scare you or make you upset.
Mm-hmm. And I also think of, like, that, you know, children's horror, because of, like, the nature of children's media, is also often trying to teach, like, a lesson. Like, you know, Gravity Falls, even though Gravity Falls is not a show that's, like, super moralistic, it is still a show that it's, like, because it's children's media, it has to do something. And I think of, like, one of the really great examples of this, or at least I remember it being really great, and that may be because it's, like, through my memory, but it's the episode with do they call it a manitor? Is that an actual thing that they say?
Yes, they called it a manitor.
And it's like that episode has a really good deconstruction, not a super, like, eloquent deconstruction, because they're not really explaining it, but, like, of the idea of manliness and this almost, like, bordering on talking about toxic masculinity, because it is, like, Dipper is in a stage of his life where a lot of teenage boys tend to turn towards toxic masculinity, and so they take that, and it's like, you know, Dipper is kind of, like, as a male protagonist, one of the most common ways that you make a male protagonist have, like, humanizing qualities is, like, put some sort of, like, a deficient at being a man. That's something that, like, a lot of media does. And the premise of the episode seems like it's going to be about Dipper getting over this, like, deficiency that makes him less manly, but in fact it is about him, like, learning not only that, like, it's okay to like, that it's not a deficiency, but is in fact just, like, a part of his character. And it's just, like, he likes ABBA. He likes the ABBA equivalent, and that's, like, the whole thing. And but it's like the fact that he is not a traditional man. That episode kind of deconstructs the idea that, like, because he doesn't fall into traditional manliness, that doesn't make him any less manly or any less, like, of a man. And also it's like the giant scary bear also likes ABBA. Because why the fuck not?
Why not?
Which is
why wouldn't he?
Very fun, because it's, like, at the same time as you're having this very serious discussion of, like, you know, toxic masculinity bad, it's also like, but this giant bear with 9 heads, he likes that same music, and he's a fucking giant bear with 9 heads. You gonna tell him that he's wrong?
Are you?
No.
No.
Are you
He'll eat you.
daft?
Are you? What are you gonna do? You're gonna tell him that he's wrong to like ABBA? Fuck off!
He'll kill
I love
you.
ABBA, so I remember watching that episode recently and being like, huh, that is a very mature point for a kid's show to take, and I'm glad that they did it. Because it is like, he's like, what, 12 in the series, or like 14?
They turned 13 at the end of the series.
Yeah, so it's like, like right as you're kind of figuring out like, oh, I'm about to, start going through puberty and go through all these body changes and also like figure out, how to be a grown-up. And so, he goes on this quest to like become a more manly man. Because, people make fun of him and because he's like, I can do it. I can show that I'm a grown-up. And then, the lesson ends up being like, it's okay to, one, still be a kid, and it's also completely okay to not be like a total dude bro 105% of the time if that's not what you're feeling. Like, if you're feeling that, go for it. If you want to go chop some lumber and, like, play football, that's good. If that's not your scene, like, you can play ABBA and chill out, dude.
You can be really into solving mysteries. Also, Gravity Falls is perhaps one of the best exchanges in any children's media, and it's been memed to hell, but it's the, what is the thing I asked you not to do? Raise the dead, and what did you do? Raise the dead. Which is, like, peak characterization. But it's a very smart show, and, like, I gotta say, Alex Hirsch, endless respect.
So much respect for that
love
man.
That man.
God.
Love him.
I love that man.
But yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Fun fact, Kara and I, along with one of our friends, went as Dipper and Mabel, and our friend went as Grunkle Stan for Halloween of our sophomore year.
I think we can safely say that the friend was Anissa. She's been on the
show.
That's
true, yeah, it is.
Anissa was Grunkle Stan, and then I was Mabel, and then Eli was Dipper.
As to why I have the Dipper hat.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like was the costume an excuse to get the Dipper hat, or was the Dipper hat
I mean, I wouldn't have gotten the Dipper hat without the costume. The costume was definitely an excuse to get the book, because I was like, I want the journal, and it's like, it's very cool. It is very cool. I'm very happy that, god damn it. It's not getting fixed.
It's falling. The hat keeps falling off of where Eli puts it, is what's going on, for those of you listening at home.
I don't want to be there. I should have worn this hat while we were doing our Star Wars episode. I have a Star Wars hat that I'm putting on right now.
Okay.
Woo! But yeah, the journal is very cool. I'm glad that I have it.
Yay! Yeah. I don't know. I feel very, like, cleansed and wholesome.
Yes.
This is so good. I'm glad that we decided to do this. This is fun. Yes,
aggressively
I agree.
bobbing up and down.
Yeah, God. I mean, we mentioned Good Omens earlier, and I didn't come in here intending to talk about Good Omens, but fucking, I'm gonna talk about Good Omens now. Haven't read the book. Haven't read the book yet. I've seen the Amazon series twice. So good. Maybe 3 times. Have lost count. It's very good. And I got onto it mainly because Eli put me onto it. Because I think you showed me the trailer at some point.
Yeah.
Because you were like, hey, they made Pestilence pretty? And I was like, they did? How'd that happen? And then I saw Pestilence and was like, or no, it was Pollution. That's who it was. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
They got rid of Pestilence because Pestilence is retired and now it's Pollution. That's the whole thing. Which is ironic given the state of the world right now.
I feel like Pestilence emerged from retirement and was like, hello!
Surprise, bitch! I'm here for my special! I'm here for my close-up. And you showed me a trailer and I was like, damn, Pollution is pretty hot though! And I was like, cool. So that was in like the back of my mind, and Eli you also just mentioned some stuff about it, and was like, hey, this is a pretty cool thing that I'm gonna watch. And I was like, alright, cool, I might as well do this then. So yeah, the summer it came out, I sat down and I watched it, and I was like, god damn, this is good, and I like it. It also has David Tennant in it.
It does have David Tennant.
For a number of reasons. Yeah. So yeah, I guess, like, what is the plot of Good Omens? The plot of Good Omens centers on 2 people who are completely irrelevant to the plot.
Yeah. The premise of Good Omens is like, okay, here's how I imagine the pitch for that would have gone. It's like, so take the Christian apocalypse, right? Take the Christian apocalypse, pretty much to the letter, like, the stuff that happens, it's happening. But what if that was a comedy? It, like, Revelations, but we make it a joke, and everyone's having a fun time.
Okay, but then if we're making it a joke, we're also gonna need, like, you know, what are the relationships between these characters? How do we make this compelling? How can we make this sizzle and pop for our viewership? Oh, we make it gay.
Yeah, we make it one, it's a plot of, like, if people were good at their jobs, this plot would never have happened, but it's, no one is good at doing what they are supposed to do, and so plot. But yeah, I guess, like, the two, not titular, I keep using the word titular wrong, and then every now and then I'll use it correctly, and I'll be like, I am the most intelligent I have ever been in my whole life, and then I immediately use it wrong. But the two protagonists are Crowley and Aziraphale, a demon and angel, respectively, who kind of, like, through just sheer luck, heaven and hell were like, hey, you just operate on Earth. Good luck, do what you gotta do. And so they've become friends over the course of, like, the 6,000 years, because in this world, Earth has existed for 6,000 years, because Christian blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So they are perhaps no better friends have ever been than them, and they are very much in love with each other, and if you choose to read that as platonic love, or romantic love, or some mix of the two, all is valid. They're very soft. And my favorite scene, I think that the first time most people in creative writing interacted with Good Omens is when we had to adapt a scene from a book into a script, and I adapted the very funny scene where it's just them getting drunk and talking about the apocalypse without talking about the apocalypse, and I was like, this scene is my favorite because they are just, like, so obviously in love. And, like, they don't say it, but they say it. And that's what I love about the book, is that you can tell that not only can you see, like, how much love these characters have for each other, but also you can tell how much love Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett had for the world they were creating. Like, this is very clearly a book that was made not because it was going to do well, or because it was going to be, like, some revolutionary concept, but it was made because both of them were like, this is a fun concept and we want to have fun with it. And it has resulted in my favorite book. I love it so much. Yes, also, Newt. I love the idea of a guy, and he's like, his whole personality, he's like bad with computers, and so he's like, what is a job that I can do without computers? I know, I'm gonna go work for the witch hunter. Because that's the one job that doesn't need computers. And it's like,
fuck me if that's not technological.
I was like, you know, it's a creative solution.
That's a good solution.
Modern problems need modern
ancient solutions.
True.
Modern problems require pre-enlightenment solutions.
And I mean, like, we can talk about it very seriously, but there's also, like, fully a character named thou shalt not commit adultery.
I mean, there was an actual, like, Puritan child in, like, the 1700s in the US who was named thou shalt not fornicate, which is like, can you imagine? There has never been a cockblock so hard as that one set of Puritan parents who were like, you know what? Never gonna happen.
And they were like, no.
Yeah, like, it blows my mind that there's a period in history where people were like, we can name our children full sentences and commandments, and this will be fine. God. But yeah, I think on the, like, are they romantically or platonically involved, I think I'm choosing to read it as I chose to read Lord of the Rings, which is, it's That's very true. Queer and they're very much romantically in love. And, like, a lot of the same stuff is there of, like, it's never explicitly said. They never, like, kiss, they never say, like, I love you to each other or anything. But it's all there.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, now that I have read Lord of the Rings, I'm looking back at Good Omens and I'm like, that is Sam and Frodo, but different. Slightly.
Yeah, no,
different.
I also choose to interpret it as, like, they have some deal. I choose to interpret it in a more romantic sense, but I also think, like, the reason why I'm very specific about this is because I feel like angels and demons are so often cast as, like, a romantic thing, and it's like, it is almost always like a hypersexualized romantic thing, and that is completely not the point of Good Omens.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like,
that's true.
That's where I get in, like, I think that it's, if you normally take that away from Angels and Demons, I would say it's probably better to read it as platonic, because if you read it with that same romantic, like, that connotation, you're gonna completely miss the whole point of it, which is that they have this very pure, real, and, like, nature-defying love for each other, which is so beautiful, and also, they're, like, the most chaotic people.
They're so good! They're such bastards! I love them! David Tennant is the sluttiest he's ever been in a role! It's great! Like, there's no, like, he doesn't have any sex in the freaking thing.
It's undeniable.
Goddamn! He leads with his hips in every single, like, room he enters.
You're walking, like, a 3/4 all the way down shirt and skinny jeans, and it's like, bro.
David Tennant's character, I mean, none of David Tennant's characters know how to properly tie a tie, and then Crowley just takes that to the max! He takes it to an 11! It's great!
He's like, I'm not tying this tie, but it's fashionable. And who can fault him for
and
it?
I love that for him. I love that for him. That is very sexy. I love it. It's so good. Anyway, God, David Tennant just being a slutty bastard is like one of my favorite roles. It's very good. It's so very fun. It's like, you came to work and you were like, I'm gonna have a good day today. And then you ensured that.
Yeah.
Also, David Tennant has a podcast called David Tennant Does a Podcast With. And then, like, the episode
Only
titles
David.
are just, like, the names of people that he's got on. And I think the first episode, or close to the first episode, was him and Michael Sheen. And
Very
it was great.
good. I mean, didn't they also, like, did a thing with the BBC where it was just the two of them on Zoom?
Yeah, it was just the two of them on Zoom doing presumably a comedy thing. And I think, like, I didn't see it because it was on, like, this BBC, like, special service subscription thing. I don't know. But from what I could see of, like, screenshots from it on Twitter, in the end credits, it was, like, David Tennant, and then they, like, cross it out in the next episode, and were like, David McDonald, because that's his actual name. Because, you know, but he couldn't go by that because there was another David McDonald already doing work and stuff, and he didn't want to get confused. And then I think in the next one, at some point, it's like, that lying bastard David McDonald.
A mood.
And it's great. I want to be... God, I hope that I get cussed out, and at least... If I ever, like, get put in a creative project, please, God, cuss me out in the credits. That'd be so good.
Ooh, I feel like you just gave someone a carte blanche, and, like, in 20 years it's gonna be...
I think for, like, my senior show that's gonna end up...
That's true. That's true because, you know, Miss Swittick hasn't heard all the jokes we made about our senior shows, so she was never like, maybe these two should not be...
Yeah, she wasn't present for the hand-to-hand combat.
She wasn't present for that. She wasn't present for the whole fighting each other in the rain while dressed like pirates conversation. But yeah, no, I feel like...
I mean, the fighting each other dressed as pirates in the rain does not have to happen for the senior show. I think that can be an extracurricular that we just do for fun.
Yeah,
that can be self-care.
We're starting a new club, in addition to Queer Media Club. It's the Fighting Each Other in the Rain Club, and the only other member is Shelby. And no, Mr. Telez, we will not be telling you what we did as our service project.
What we did as our service project was being fashionable and doing sword fighting.
Yes, it's a service to the world.
Side note, Shelby and I do need to learn how to sword fight.
Well, I'm not going to teach you.
Yeah, because you're gonna lose if you do.
I'm not gonna be the character who's like, I've trained the one who will one day defeat me. No. You're on your
own. Yeah. See, Eli has the most relevant swashbuckling experience, but Shelby and I have the real gumption.
Yeah, I feel...
And also the dedication to wardrobe choices, if nothing else.
I feel like you guys have the advantage of, like, in the plot that we've created, you know, you guys have the moral upper hand, I guess. And
somehow.
So, like, maybe you have plot armor. But, you know, it really depends on which one of us is authoring the script, because if I'm authoring the script, nothing good.
Fuck off.
We had a discussion about our senior show, and everyone was like, yeah, I don't really like killing protagonists. Yeah, I don't really like killing off characters. I don't do it on screen. And then it was me, and I was like, yeah, I kill a lot of people.
Yeah, Ayla was like, everyone that they love will burn!
Perish!
Like, you'll do anything, then perish. Yeah, no, just a little edgelord. Little tiny edgelord. I know.
My
your little Star
oversized
Wars
hoodie
hat.
and stormtrooper hat.
Yeah, terrifying.
I know, I'm a real menace.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think just right now in the world, where I want to be is just either Middle-earth or wherever the fuck Stardust is set, and that's it. I just want to do magic and be a little bit of a bastard and have, like, open puffy shirts, and that's it.
I mean, that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good aesthetic. I don't care if it's historically accurate or not. It's a good aesthetic, and I like it.
Yes.
Hey, is the Dipper hat gonna stay? Dipper hat's gonna stay up where it's meant to be! Woo!
Woo! Watch it fall as soon as we turn the podcast off, and it's like
a thud, and you're just like, God damn it. I mean, considering that it's a piece of merch from Gravity Falls, it makes sense that it won't stay suspended in one place for very long.
I gotta
Come
go.
on.
I have to leave. What can I possibly say to come back from that? You used physics against me, Caroline. Are you proud of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Huh,
Yeah.
Care? Huh?
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty fucking proud of myself, actually. I'm very pleased. You can't take this from me. This is my crowning achievement. This is it. This is it for me.
This is the peak. Care's peaked. It either plateaus or goes down from here.
Mm-hmm. Probably gonna go down. It's like 9:40ish p.m.
Ooh.
right now. I don't know. Do we have, like... I don't know. This was good and I'm glad we did it. I'm glad that we did it. We may do more of this in the future. Griffin and Rachel McElroy, if you're listening to this for some reason, would absolutely love to have you on. Maybe. I was like, I think 2 guests at once may be a lot to edit for you, so I don't want to put that on you. But if we can do it, and somehow, Griffin, if you could edit that would be cool. That'd be choice.
That would be fun. That would be a real
We'll
good time.
outsource it to, like, one of the busiest people.
Yeah, or
in
if you guys
podcasting.
record on the same mic, so it's only 3 audio inputs.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, no, like, if y'all want to hop on the pod, go for it. Sure. But yeah, this was fun, and it was nice to hear about things that I don't normally hear you talk about, like logic gates and black holes, even if I didn't understand the first one very much, but it was still very good to, like...
It was very good. Yes, it was very good to learn about Starlight, and also Syndicate. I didn't know the Syndicate, like, it's very cool to learn, like, that there's a whole thing with them. That's very interesting.
Yeah. There's a whole thing. I didn't know that either. It was very fun to learn about this thing. So yeah, I guess, like, episode wrap-up, we learned about what makes each other happy,
Yep.
which I think is good.
We don't...
I think...
I was just saying, like, this episode feels weird because we don't have to cut something as we, like, realize that we're slowly devolving into just, like, the most base humor. But it is very good to end an episode without feeling like we're about to go over a cliff. We're just, like, resting in a field, and it's the logical conclusion. Logic.
Yeah. We're in a meadow, on a picnic blanket, it's pretty soft, there's a breeze going on. We started the episode in, like, a really gloomy weather place, and now I feel like we've ended the episode in a really good weather place.
Yes.
I think that's accurate to say. I think, like, meadow, sunny, breeze going, cold enough for a sweater, but not so cold that you're miserable.
Very good.
Good place. Good vibes. Let me pull up the outro, because I need to do that this is the first time I'm doing the outro this time. My goodness. Thanks to sawsquarenoise on the Free Music Archive for the use of their song Tower Defense Ending. Potential sponsors, Black Holes, Logic Gates. We shouted you out already, but we're gonna shout you out again. If you wanna, like, promote your Logic Gate to an audience of 15 maybe, hit us up. Our email is heynerdpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh boy.
This also goes for big businesses, small businesses.
Blue Apron,
HelloFresh, Casper Mattresses, Brooklyn, and maybe Audible.
ExpressVPN, please.
ExpressVPN.
NordVPN. All the people that we were, like, last season, we're still ready. We still are willing to promote you to our audience of 15 people.
We're in our 2nd season. We're going strong.
Yep.
Listeners, tell your friends about us. your enemies about us, your black holes, your star friends who fell out of the sky and who you have to lead on a
Your sky pirates?
wild chase. Your sky pirates! Tell your sky pirates, your scented candle purveyors, your chandlers, wherever those may be,
Mhm.
Tell them all about us, and tell them to come give us a listen, because we want to meet new people. And you can also email us fun stuff, again, at heynerdpodcast@gmail.com. And guess what, y'all? That Twitter that we mentioned last episode, still there.
Still
It's
up.
at heynerdpodcast?
Yes, at Hey Nerd Podcast, capital H, capital N, capital P in podcast. The link will be in the description. You don't have to figure out what weird spelling I did.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to, like, tweet about us, get the word out, or just check back to see if there's a new episode up, because sometimes we do post them a little bit late, because we are 2 high school seniors with very busy lives, and a lot to do. And sometimes just TV shows to binge watch.
Mhm.
I kind of got distracted by Haunting of Bly Manor because I heard that there were lesbians in it, and I was like, well, now I have to drop everything.
As you do. Completely,
As one does.
completely valid.
Yeah, and check back 2 Wednesdays from now, from when this episode's hitting your earballs. Earballs? Eardrums.
No, hitting your earballs. Stay. Go with it.
Hitting your earballs. For our
On the
next
earball
episode.
court.
Yeah, our next episode where, you know, I think it's safe to say, much like 2020, everything changes.
It's
Yeah, I
up to
just
you
got it.
to decide what that means between now and then.
Everything's gonna change.
Ooh.
But I think we'll end up, restoring harmony at some point. I'm trying to send a little message to you, like, we did talk about this.
Yes, I know
like, 2
what
weeks
you're
ago.
talking about, but also
good.
everything changed. I thought of a completely different show. I will tell you what I thought of after.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good vibes, y'all. Stay safe, wear a mask, stay indoors if you can,
Mhm.
light some scented candles, watch Stardust, or Good Omens, or both.
Do whatever you gotta do to just feel a little bit better, as we go ever forward unto the breach of the year 2020.
It's almost over, y'all. We're almost through it.
Woo!
And with that said, let's try this again, second time this season.
3,
2,
2,
1,
1,
bye,
nerd!
Well, we did it.
It exists, alright?